There's more to resetting your finances than tracking your income, cutting expenses, or sticking to a budget. If you're new here, I'm Rose Colburn. I help real people build financial freedom by teaching practical money strategies that actually work in real life. And I want you to stick around to the end because there's one step that no one is talking about. And if you want 2026 to be your best financial year ever, you don't want to skip it. So, the first step in resetting your finances for 2026 is to clarify your current income and expenses. And I want to be very clear about this upfront because this is not about judgment, restriction, or fixing anything yet, just about getting some clarity. A lot of people either skip this step or they rush through it because they think they already know their numbers, or they tell themselves that they'll come back to it later once maybe things are more under control. But the reality is, you can't make good financial decisions without a clear picture of what's actually happening with your finances right now. Now, when I say income, I don't just mean what you think you make. One of the common mistakes I see is that people overestimate their income because they're thinking the best case scenario, months where you're getting really good income, where you're getting your 40 hours a week, or you even get overtime. Or the other thing is they forget to account for things like bonuses that aren't consistent, side income that fluctuates, or money that comes in irregularly. And then when it comes to expenses, this is where things usually get messy. People forget about annual or irregular expenses, things like car insurance premiums, car maintenance, subscriptions that only show up once or twice a year, or they just use a rough estimate instead of real numbers and they tell themselves, nah, that's good enough. And it's usually not. Another big challenge is the feeling of being overwhelmed by the whole idea of tracking your expenses. Because I get it, it's exhausting. A lot of people think they need a complicated system or a better budget app before they can even get started. But the problem usually isn't the tool that they're using, it's just avoiding it altogether. And I hear this all the time. I don't have time to figure out where I'm spending my money, or I don't want to write everything down. So many people think they know where their money is going, but the truth is they don't. Unless you truly see the hard facts, you have no idea of exactly where you're spending your money. And here's the thing, if you don't make time to look at your numbers, you're going to end up spending far more time dealing with money stress later on. Inside my lifestyle money plan, I actually have a really quick way to get a clear snapshot of your expenses in about 10 minutes. No searching your car for receipts, no scrolling through months and months of transactions, no trying to remember where your money went. The goal here is not perfection, it's just awareness. You're not trying to build a perfect budget. You're just answering a couple of important questions like, how much am I really earning every single month? And how much am I spending every month? Once you have the full picture of the money coming in and out of your financial plan, then your finances start to feel less chaotic and it's easier to make decisions. Instead of feeling like you have no control over your money, you actually get the chance to make decisions that are based on real data. And that's powerful. Now, the second step in resetting your finances for 2026 is building a financial buffer. This is a step so many financial gurus and experts preach about. Build your emergency fund, build your emergency fund, build your emergency fund. You've heard it over and over again. And guess what? They're right. And I agree with them. But I take it a step further because while it's nice to have money set aside for emergencies, that money, the money you say is for emergencies only, should not be the money you start grabbing when a bill shows up that you forgot about, or when your paycheck is scheduled to show up 2 days later than your rent or mortgage is due, or when your kid tells you at the last minute that they forgot that they needed money for a field trip or a school project or whatever else it is that comes up. Your emergency fund should be for emergencies. The car needs urgent and unexpected repairs. The water heater busted. You have to take an unexpected trip. Emergencies are things you can't predict, and that's what your emergency fund is for. The other stuff I mentioned, that's money you should set aside in an account I call your freedom fund. Mixing your emergency fund with the everyday life happens money, that's where a lot of people go wrong. And they actually end up dipping into their emergency savings without really meaning to. And listen, I don't want you to get the idea that you're not allowed to use your savings. In fact, one of the biggest mistakes I see is that people have a tendency to treat their savings like it's untouchable money. It's sacred. Like once the money goes into the savings account, it's just supposed to sit there forever and never be touched. Or if you touch it, well, then you must have done something wrong. But honestly, that's not how real life works. In fact, I even have a cheat sheet that shows real life scenarios of when to use your emergency fund and when to use your freedom fund. I know it seems like a small thing for some people, but honestly, overthinking is one of the biggest traps that can trip you up. Buffers are meant to be used. That's the whole point of them. The problem isn't using the money. The problem is not having a plan for how to use it and how to rebuild it afterwards. I can't tell you how many times someone has said to me, I really screwed up this month. I had to pull money from my emergency fund. But when I start talking to them to figure out what happened, I hear things like, well, my mom had to have surgery and I used my emergency fund to fly home to be with her. Someone T-boned me when I was leaving the grocery store, and I had to use my emergency money to pay for the deductible to get the car fixed. Or maybe my kid decided to see what would happen if he flushed his pajamas down the toilet and flooded the whole bathroom. Yes, it has really happened. If those things aren't true emergencies, then I don't know what is. How can you plan for any of them? That's exactly what your emergency fund is meant to be used for. Here's the thing I want you to understand. You create financial buffers because crap happens in life that we can't predict. And that stuff that happens, we want to have money to fix the mess, period. The third step to resetting your finances in 2026 is to create a debt stabilization and payoff plan. And I want to be really clear about something right away. This is not about choosing the fastest debt payoff method. It's not about doing whatever some chart or calculator says will get you debt free the quickest, because speed is not the same thing as sustainability. Believe me, when I tell you, I get it when it comes to debt. I hate being in debt. I hate the feeling of being stuck and trapped. I hate seeing so much of my money going to something that was bought months or even years ago that you have no idea what it is anymore. And now all you want is for the money that you're paying the credit card companies to start going back into your pockets again. Seriously, I get it. But trying to pay everything off at once is a huge mistake unless you have so much extra income that you honestly won't miss all that money that you want to throw at your debt. I know on paper it sounds like the most adult and responsible thing to do, but the reality is a lot of times it just backfires. What usually happens is people choose an overly aggressive plan. They cut everything. They leave no room for anything else, no flexibility, no room for real life to happen. And for a little while, it works until it doesn't. Because what usually happens is either they get stuck or they get sick and tired of depriving themselves of absolutely everything. Or else something unexpected happens and they've put all their money towards the debt and didn't leave room for their buffers. So now they have to run up the credit cards again to cover whatever it is that's happening. And that sucks. Seriously. Debt payoff should not require you to white knuckle it through your day to day life. A good debt plan doesn't punish you, it doesn't make you feel like you screwed up again. It helps you improve the way you live your life. What we're aiming for here is stabilization first, making sure payments are manageable, making sure buffers are in place, making sure that you actually stick with the plan every single month. Because debt that's paid off slow and consistent is far more powerful than debt that's paid off aggressively for 3 months and then abandoned. Now let's talk about the fourth step in resetting your finances for 2026, which is to start setting up a money growth system. Now, Before you mentally check out, because the word investing makes you uncomfortable, let me say this real clear. You don't have to be an investment expert to get started with investing your money. We're not talking about rocket science here. There's no picking stocks, there's no timing the market or knowing all the right terminology. You don't have to overcomplicate this step. Every time I bring up investing, without fail, the one thing I hear the most is, I don't know where to start, or just don't know enough about the stock market. If you wait until you know enough about investing, here's what's going to happen: nothing. Months will go by, years will go by, and growth will always be something that you plan to do eventually. I know because it's something I've seen over and over again. Here's the thing: growing your money isn't about knowing everything there is to know. It's about having a simple, repeatable system that works quietly in the background while you live your life. A money growth system should not require your constant attention. It shouldn't make you anxious, and it definitely shouldn't feel like something you're always second guessing yourself about. Consistency matters more than complexity here. The step is not about maximizing returns, it's just about starting. It's about putting something in place that allows your money to grow over time without you having to micromanage it. You don't need expert knowledge to do that. You don't need perfect timing, and you don't need to feel like you're ready. Because when money growth becomes part of your plan instead of something that you put off until later, it changes how you think about the future. It stops feeling abstract and it starts feeling possible. Now, let's move on to the thing you don't hear a lot of financial experts talking about. The final step in this process is to identify what's missing from your life right now. This is the step almost everyone ignores, not because it doesn't matter, but because it feels uncomfortable or selfish, maybe even unnecessary. So people stick to the numbers. They focus on budgets, balances, and payoff plans, and they tell themselves they'll worry about the rest later someday. Don't have the money to set aside for the things I really want. That's what people say. One of these days, I'm going to, you fill in the blank here. There's a ton of things that people say they're going to do one of these days. I'm going to visit Paris. One of these days, I'm going to take a trip to the Grand Canyon. I'm going to start a business one of these days. I'm going to take the kids to Disney before they grow up one of these days. I'm going to take a week off from work for a real vacation. One of these days, I'm going to travel and not worry about my destination. What is the thing that finishes that sentence for you? One of these days, I'm going to, I want you to say it out loud right now. Go ahead, let's do it together. One of these days, I'm going to, how does that feel to say one of these days? And name the thing you're going to do. Does it feel exciting? Does it feel hopeful? Or does it sound like a load of crap? Do you say that to yourself and immediately think, yeah, right, I wish? A lot of people do that. They name the thing that they want and immediately they just shoot it down. They label it as wanting too much. It's too big, it's too far out of reach. Wishful thinking. Get your head out of the clouds, Rose. Yeah, we tell ourselves to get a grip and to face reality, because reality is we don't feel like we'll ever have the very thing that we truly want. And that's why this is such an important step. It's so crucial to actually name what's missing from your life right now, because once you can name it, it becomes something that you could actually consider planning for. Does that make sense? If you say more money is a thing that's missing from your life right now, it's a whole lot easier to start thinking of plans for how you can start bringing more money into your life. You get what I'm saying here? When your financial plan has no connection to your actual life, it becomes so easy to resent it. And when you resent your plan, you stop following it. This step isn't about luxury. It's not about blowing money or being irresponsible. It's about being honest. For me, this step is meant about time, time with my family, time to show up more consistently for the people I care about, time that doesn't feel rushed or squeezed in between other obligations. I want to build up my emergency fund and my freedom fund, have buffers in them that allow me to take a last minute flight if I need to. I want money set aside specifically for planned travel, not just a trip because I have to go to another funeral. You get what I'm saying? I feel like so many families reach the point where the only time they get together is for funerals, maybe weddings. But I want more time with my family that isn't dictated by either of those things. You see, when you get clear on what's missing from your life, your financial decisions start to make more sense, whether it's time with your family or just time for yourself. When you know what you want, you stop copying other people's goals. You stop chasing things that just sound like they're a good idea, and you start asking better questions. What do I actually want more of in my life? What do I want less of? And how can I use my money to actually make those things happen? You don't have to have everything figured out. You just need to check and decide what's important right now. We're not talking 5 to 10 years. We're talking about this year, the next few months, the next few weeks. This step does not require you to have everything figured out. It just requires you to think honestly about what you want. Because when you know what you're building towards, it becomes a lot easier to stay consistent with the boring parts. I once heard Jim Rohn say that you're the sum of the people you surround yourself with. And I think that matters a lot. And you know what? It's a lot more easy. It's a lot easier to do that now than it was a long time ago. Because today you don't have to travel to a big conference or be in the same physical room to be surrounded by people who inspire you, who help you to reach your goals or to do better in your life. It's so much easier today to surround yourself with those kinds of people because you can do that online. You can choose what voices you listen to. You can choose what kind of conversations that you're part of. And this year, I want to be very intentional about that. I want to build a community of people who want to make 2026 their best financial year ever. People who are intentional about their money, people who inspire me, people who I can inspire, people who inspire each other, people who are tired of feeling like they're behind with their finances and really want to enjoy their life while they're building not just financial stability, but real financial freedom. And we're not talking about perfection or hustle. We're just talking about steady, thoughtful progress. So I want to ask you the same question I've been asking myself. Do you want to make 2026 your best financial year ever? You want to reset your finances and do this in a way that actually supports your life? I know that's what I want. And you know what? I'm committed to doing that very thing. So I'm going to kick things off with a conversation in the comments below. And I'm just going to simply add the word reset as my commitment to starting again in 2026 to make it the best year ever. And if that's what you want, go ahead and follow my lead. Just comment reset below and make your commitment that you want to be surrounded by people who share similar goals and inspire you to do better. Just add a simple word, reset. Just even say you're committed or I'm in, whatever works for you. Let's see how many people are truly committed to making 2026 their best financial year ever. And hey, if you want to keep up the momentum and start 2026 strong, here's another video for you to watch.